In the Factor follow-up segment tonight, immigration officials tell Fox News that workplace raids, which have targeted illegals on the job, are being suspended until further review. This must make House Speaker Nancy Pelosi very, very happy. You may remember she was caught on tape talking to a bunch of legal and illegal immigrants recently.
Who in our country would not want to change a policy of kicking in doors in the middle of the night and sending a parent away from their families? It must be stopped. What value system is that? I think it's un-American.
Apparently, Homeland Security Secretary Janet Napolitano, a big supporter of so-called comprehensive immigration reform, will now focus on criminal illegals and employers who hire undocumented workers. So is this the sort of change that we can believe in? Joining us now from Washington, immigration activist Caroline Murray. Now, Caroline, I was looking at the report that William Longinus of Fox News did. I mean, he's done a lot of investigation into what's happening with these raids on workplaces, and he said that the Immigration Customs Enforcement officials are, quote, paralyzed with fear. Fear of enforcing the immigration laws for fear that they're going to get retribution against them on the job. In other words, get fired for enforcing the laws. Do you think that's a good thing?
Well, I don't know who you're speaking to who works for Immigration and Customs Enforcement, but it seems to me that we have a problem with our borders. There's a lot of violence going on in the borders of Mexico, and people need real help. Workplace raids might make good TV, but it certainly isn't good policy. So I applaud the Obama administration because, you know, he's following through on what he said that Tuesday night in front of Congress. Act boldly, act wisely. We have hard work ahead of us, and I thank him for taking this on in a thoughtful way. We need comprehensive immigration reform.
So acting boldly is not enforcing current immigration laws that are on the books. It's just, in other words, it's giving the ICE officials, the immigration officials, the implicit message, knock off that law enforcement thing. That's acting boldly. To me, it's acting in contravention to duly passed laws.
Well, what do you suggest they do, Laura? There's 12 million people who are here as part of our failed immigration policy. There's no way for people to cross our borders legally and become citizens. There are people here, just like there have always been. My ancestors came here, and they helped build this country. This is the next wave of immigration. People are here to make a better life for their families.
Deport 12 million illegals. That is such an old line. I mean, that's older than the tactics that we're seeing in Washington today with the feigned indignation about AIG. Because what we've seen is that workplace raids go to the heart of the problem. Employers who willfully hire illegal aliens or look the other way because they didn't bother to do the check that a measure like E-Verify makes so easy. So you would then be in favor of E-Verify. Would you not be in favor of that, Caroline?
We need to have a way for all workers to be legal in this country, and that's what comprehensive immigration reform would do. Well, first of all, everybody knows the E-Verify program is completely flawed. If you enter an 8 and the 8 looks like a 0 because some person wrote it down in a messy way, it's not going to show up. But the point is that as long as there is one group of workers who can be preyed upon by unscrupulous employers, then it's going to drag down wages for everyone. These employers are choosing to hire people who are undocumented so that they cannot pay them. That's exactly right, and that's why we need immigration reform.
Talking over me doesn't make your points any more persuasive. All right, when employers hire people, E-Verify allows them to put their Social Security numbers into the computer, and presto, maybe there'll be a couple of mistakes made here and there, which could be quickly corrected.
A couple mistakes.
Let me finish.
Actually far more than a couple mistakes.
I can't hear you. What happens is they put their names into the computer and are able to find out whether these match up. That is an instant check. It's you would do instant background checks at gun shows. Everyone's in favor of that, right? But what I think we find is that, Caroline...
Would you like me to respond?
Hold on a second. Immigration activists, like yourself, don't really want any enforcement on the books, do you? What enforcement are you actually in favor of? Why don't you tick that off? That would be easier than telling us what you're against.
We can start with the failed policies of the Bush administration that led to this entire crisis.
Okay, I just
this is linked to our economic crisis. The economic crisis is tied to the crisis in immigration.
The economic crisis is an immigration problem.
They're linked, obviously. They are linked.
They're linked.
Because as long wages are dropping and employers are preying upon people who have no rights on the books.
You're right. We actually agree on that. But you basically can't name
if we provide legalization for 12 billion people, we will increase our tax revenues by $60 billion. $60 billion in taxes.
One law on the books, enforcement provision on the books that you're in favor of, can you?
Laura, we need comprehensive immigration reform with a pact to citizenship.
Yeah.
So people can become legal and cross the borders legally. We need to secure our borders humanely, and we need to enforce wage and hour laws and standards on the job.
You're not in favor of a single enforcement provision that you can name. Why have a border? Why have a border?
Well, Laura, no one here is talking about open borders except for you. We have borders, we have passports, we have citizenship.
What provisions of the immigration law do you favor? What enforcement mechanisms do you favor to stem the tide of illegal immigration in the United States? Which one?
Well, we all know the immigration law is completely broken. There's a backlog for people to become citizens. Ricardo Serna from Springfield, he was in line for 28
your answer
years
to the
become
problem
a citizen.
is legalize everybody. Okay, we clarified that. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot, Ms. Murray. We appreciate your time. Plenty more ahead as the factor moves along this evening. The left wing